Hello YouTube. What's going on out there? This is the Introvert Boricua, and I'm bringing a little topic, something that I've been having on my mind that I wanted to share. Anybody coming into the live, please hit the like. What's going on, Don Jose? I see you. I see you in the comments. I'm gonna touch on a couple of things, and I'm gonna put down the link. But there are kind of like a couple of things that I wanted to mention. Wanted to take this opportunity for that. I'm actually gonna be fairly brief. Uh, there are people, as you know, there are people that are very good at getting on a platform, and they can elaborate a lot, and they can talk about their experiences, and they have the gift of gab, and good for them. I can't have a problem with that. Unfortunately, I'm not so much like one of them. I prefer to talk with people, and we're gonna come to that point. But something that I did share with a few of you guys, you know who you are. You are the kind of like the a small group of boys and girls, grown boys and girls, that I have shared with this, and that is the when it comes to the passing of my parent, particularly my mom, my beloved mom. She passed away today, the 18th. Makes it exactly 1 month since she passed, and it's a little difficult still to talk about it. Still, it's difficult to deal with it, and this is something that obviously is gonna take a long time. Um, Now, it all started back in January when we first had, my sister and I, when we first had the first health scare, um, with mom. And I had to go to Puerto Rico, see her at the hospital, stay with her for a while, and eventually I came back. I came back to Texas. After I came back to Texas at the beginning of the year, um, there was a there was a video that I came across when it comes to things that have to do with the afterlife. I'm gonna play an excerpt from it in a minute, but it's something that coincided with what the video is about. It was something that was mentioned on a recent live stream uh, on the channel of Jose Negron called Uncommon Sense. Now, that was the live stream, Don Jose. I'm sure that you're listening, in which you were talking about grief, as it is mentioned on the title of this video, and you were talking about handling how do we handle grief, and you had a therapist, that you have somebody that we know, that Denise, he's somebody that consults with him. His name is Tim Delgado. Shout out to Tim if he's watching this. Hey, that was a good one. It was a good live, in which you participated in, and you brought in your knowledge on the subject, and that was greatly appreciated. It actually helped me, because of what I have been dealing with recently. Hey, what's up, Christina? What's going on, chica? Um, and the thing is that when I saw that live, because the timing of it was quite amazing, actually. Uh, After just a few days, it was only a few days after my mom passed. Um, Don Jose had his live about his live stream about grief, and I had only come out just a few days after my mom's passing, so I couldn't participate in it. I was still too distraught for it, and I skipped it, and later on we had another live stream in which we were talking a little bit about that. But there was something that Tim Delgado mentioned that reminded me of something that I saw back at the beginning of the year. Now, if it's all right with Don Jose, I'm gonna show a little excerpt of the of your live stream, and that is if I can get it right. Let me see. Okay. Okay, let me see what's going on. Okay. I'm gonna be playing a little excerpts from your video, Don Jose, because it's something that reminded me of something that I saw earlier in the year. I'm gonna go to it now. Okay. There what? Oh, you're saying that you can't hear it? Oh, oh my God, my goodness. So what am I missing? What am I missing? Because but you could see it, Christina. It was at around the it was at around the 35, the 36 minute mark when there was the when Tim Delgado was talking about the, yeah, I could see, I just could not hear. Did you check shared audio? Let me see if I can do that again. Let me give it a quick try. Share audio. Maybe I didn't hit that. Hang on. Bear with me because I don't do this often, but I think I can get it to work. Let me see. I know. I'm struggling here a little bit, but stay with me because I should be able to go back to that particular moment. Okay, I'm gonna give it another. I'm gonna give it another try, guys. And hey, Radical, what's going on? I'm about to show a clip of part of Jose Negron's live stream in which they were talking about something very specific that I wanted to share another video about. Let me see if I can get the share correct this time. Okay, let me see if I can get it right this time. Okay, I'm trying. Yeah. Okay, maybe I'm not doing it. Maybe I'm not doing it right. Yeah. No, it's just that I'm doing it. I did it one time. I was able to do it one time, but now it's giving me an error. Capture a different thing. Keeps giving me an error, and I did get it to work one time. So trying to see what's up. Come on, don't play with me. Keeps giving me this error. Let me see if I can do something with the audio. Maybe just playing the audio. Maybe you can hear that.
To see how it was part of the flow and to also honor the time they left. Because in the bigger picture, again, people choose to leave at a certain time. I never forget, Jose, I don't know if you remember this old show called the Montel Williams show. I think it was Montel Williams. Yeah,
yes,
Montel Williams.
Yeah, it was. I think it was on like in the 90s, I think.
Yeah, and I never forget this story where this man, it was him and his daughter next to him, and he's like, it was about near-death experiences. And he was like, man, I was at a place where I was feeling peaceful. I was feeling so good. Like, I didn't want to come back, but then I could hear my daughter's voice calling my name. And next thing you know, I felt myself coming down. Then I'm back in the hospital bed, and my daughter's pounding on my chest to come back. And I kind of like cussed her out, like, leave me alone. I was already gone. It sounded kind of funny, but I've seen so many documentaries on near-death experiences that most people, when they feel that other side, they don't want to come back. So that just proves to me that they're at a point where they're not in pain in a way. Does that make sense? And I feel I go back to my mentors thing too, is that we have to honor the time they left, because at a soul level, that's the time they chose to leave. Now we have to.
Okay, I hope you guys were able to hear that. Let me see. Let me get back to the. Were you guys able to hear that? What Tim Delgado was saying when it comes to the near-death experiences? That's the part that reminded me of a video that I saw back in January, in which it was kind of like it was about near-death experiences, but it was kind of like it was from a scientist, an actual scientist, in which they conduct research, and they have been doing this for decades now. There is an excerpt from that video. Let me see. I'm gonna play the audio. I'm counting on you guys being able to hear it. It's gonna be a little low, so I'm gonna make sure that I turn out the audio for it. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. You guys are gonna be able to check out Jose's stream. Now, as I said before, your live stream for when it comes to handling grief came out at a time when I was just a few days after I lost my mom, and that's why I didn't participate. It was hitting too close to home. No fault of your own. I mean, you already had that scheduled for a while, so it was pure coincidence. But there is when it comes to the near death experience, there is a little excerpt that I want to play. I want to play the audio. Now, the link is going to be in the description for the whole lecture, because this is a lecture of a group of scientists at the University of Virginia, in which they actually do research when it comes to the possibility or the possible fact that there is kind of like an afterlife. And this video is the only thing that brought me some solace. And I saw it again, and kind of took a little bit of comfort. So I'm gonna be playing the audio. I'm counting on you guys being able to hear it. I'm gonna be playing that now from one of the scientists that were giving a lecture.
Thank you, Jim. Among the phenomena that we've been studying at the Division of Perceptual Studies, or DOPS, for the past 40 years have been near-death experiences, or NDEs. Many people, when they come close to death, report unusual and profound experiences in which they appear to have left their bodies and claim to have moved beyond the boundaries of time and space. These NDEs have been recorded in a variety of ancient cultures. You can find them in the writings of Plato, in the Bible, in writings from Tibet, India, Egypt, China, Japan, and in the folklore of the South Pacific and Native Americans. The interpretation of these experiences varies from culture to culture, but the basic phenomena remain the same across the globe and across the centuries. These experiences near death were recorded in medical literature in journals in the 19th century, and they were described as a discrete syndrome in 1892 by Heim. They were written about quite a bit in French academic journals in the 1890s, when Victor Egger gave them the term near-death experiences. That term became popular in English in 1975, when a book was written by a UVA intern named Raymond Moody called Life After Life. There remains some controversy now about what causes NDEs and what their ultimate meaning is, but there's no question about their incidence or their impact on people. A variety of studies here at UVA and in Europe and the UK suggest that they occur to about 20% of people who have a documented cardiac arrest in study after study. We at UVA have developed a model of the NDE and a scale to quantify the depth of NDEs that's been used in hundreds of studies around the world. It basically looks at NDEs as being composed of 4 component parts: changes in thought processes, changes in emotional states, apparently paranormal phenomena, and what seem to be otherworldly phenomena. The changes in thought processes include a sense of time being distorted. People often talk about having a sense of timelessness, thinking being faster and clearer than usual, having a life review or panoramic memory where your entire life flashes before your eyes, and a sense of sudden understanding or revelation where everything becomes crystal clear. The changes in feeling include a sense of peace and well-being, feelings of joy, a sense of oneness or cosmic unity, and an encounter with what seems to be a loving, warm being of light. The apparently paranormal features include extraordinary sensory vividness. People report seeing colors they have never seen on Earth, hearing sounds they've never heard before, having what seems to be frank extrasensory perception of things going on elsewhere, visions of the future, and a sense of leaving the physical body. The otherworldly features include being in an otherworldly realm, unearthly or mystical realm, encountering some mystical being or presence, seeing deceased spirits or religious spirits, and coming to a border or point of no return beyond which you can't come back. Now, most NDEs, in fact, have a combination of all four of these elements to varying degrees. As an example, let me give you the report of one woman who had the following experience. She said, "During the war, I was very ill in the hospital. One morning, the nurse came in and found me showing no sign of life whatever. She called the doctors, to whom I also appeared dead, and I remained so, they told me afterwards, for at least 20 minutes. I became aware of a brilliant light and felt drawn toward it. It seemed that time was different or non-existent there, wherever there was. The light was beautiful to look at and projected feelings of unconditional love and peace. Looking around, I found myself in a beautiful green undulating country. I then saw a young officer with a few soldiers approaching. The officer was my favorite cousin, Albin. I did not know that he had died, nor had I ever seen him in uniform. But what I saw of him was confirmed by a photograph I had seen many years later. We spoke for a few minutes, happily, and then he and the few men with him marched off. Then a presence beside me explained that these soldiers were allowed to go and greet others who were dying and help them meet their death. My next vivid recollection after this was of looking down from about ceiling height onto a bed on which lay a very emaciated body. There were white-coated doctors and nurses around it. I yelled out to them, but they couldn't hear me. I could see everything clearly and felt warm, safe, and peaceful. In a few moments, I was looking up at them and feeling a sensation of intense disappointment. I had come back from something so lovely and so utterly satisfying. 2 days later, the doctor told me that I was lucky I didn't die. I told him that I did. He looked at me in a strange way and scheduled me for psychological evaluation. I learned to keep my mouth shut about that from that time on. Now, one of the problems we have in researching near-death experiences is that for the most part, they're retrospective. We're getting accounts from people who had the experience at some time in the past. That leaves open the question of how reliable memories of NDEs really are. Some authors have speculated that memories are embellished over the years, and particularly that the sense of well-being and peace and the pleasantness of the experience gets embellished over time. Because we've been studying these experiences for 4 decades now, we're able to address this question. Starting in 2002, I started trying to reconnect with people I had interviewed in the 1980s about their near-death experiences and asked them to describe their NDEs for me again. What we found, going the wrong way here, is that the NDE scale scores measuring the depth of the NDE were the same now in the 2000s as they were in the 1980s. And that held true for all 4 of the components: changes in thinking, changes in feeling, paranormal, and transcendental. So memories of the NDE are indeed reliable over years. And that suggests that retrospective research is also reliable. Another important question about retrospective reports of NDEs is whether they're influenced by cultural beliefs. We know that people's cultural beliefs influence how they interpret their perceptions. We see what we expect. For example, near-death experiences of third world countries do not talk about entering a tunnel the way Americans do. They may talk about entering a cave or a well. One truck driver who I interviewed talked about entering a tailpipe. So you tend to use whatever cultural metaphors are at your disposal to describe the phenomenon. So our NDE is just reporting what they expect to happen when they come close to death. The image of NDEs that most people have nowadays is the one described by Raymond Moody in 1975. Now, we've been collecting NDEs here at UVA since the 1960s, years before Moody's book came out. So we compared 24 experiences we collected in the 1960s with 24 recent experiences that were matched with the original ones in terms of age, race, gender, religion, cause of death, and proximity to death. What we found is that the features that Moody reported were reported just as often before the experience and after the experience, no matter what we looked at. The out-of-body experience, the feeling of peace, meeting others, a being of light, noises, or life review, all reported before Moody had described them as often as they are now. And that also held true for the after effects that Moody reported. Attitude changes, loss of fear of death, difficulty telling others, belief in survival after life, and corroboration of extrasensory perceptions, all reported as often before Moody described them as after. So reports do not seem to be influenced by the widespread public knowledge of NDEs. Although the interpretation of the phenomena may be influenced by culture, the actual experience appears not to be. But even though these memories of NDEs are reliable and consistent over decades, that doesn't establish that they're memories of real events, rather than memories of fantasies or hallucinations. To test that possibility, we used the Memory Characteristics Questionnaire, which was designed to differentiate memories of real events from memories of imagined events. This Memory Characteristics Questionnaire taps into 5 aspects of memories that reliably differentiate memories of real from imagined events. It includes the clarity of the memories, including the visual detail, sensory aspects like sound, smell, taste in the memory, contextual features like the memory for location and spatial arrangements, thoughts and feelings during the recalled event, and the intensity of feelings both during the event and now remembering it. We asked people who had come close to death to rate their memories of that event and also of real events that happened around the same time in their lives, and also about an imagined event from that time in their lives. What we found is that for those people who had NDEs, the near-death experience was remembered with more clarity, more detail, more context, and more intense feelings than real events from the same time period. NDEs were recalled as realer than real events to the same degree that real events were remembered as realer than the imaginary events. On the other hand, people who did not have NDEs reported their close brush with death to be as real as other real events, but not realer. So NDEs are remembered with great consistency over decades and are recalled as realer than real. How do we explain them? There are no variables that we found yet that can predict whether someone's going to have an NDE, neither age, race, gender, religion, religiosity, or mental illness. There's been lots of speculation about physiological variables that may be involved in NDEs. But the bottom line is that it's hard to reconcile enhanced mental function, thinking and perception being clearer and sharper than ever before with impaired brain function, as you have in deep anesthesia or cardiac arrest. So why are near-death experiences of interest to health professionals? One reason is that there's a consistent pattern of after effects from near-death experiences, changes in beliefs, attitudes, and values. And these have been corroborated with long-term studies and interviews with significant others. We see increases in spirituality, a sense of concern or compassion for others, appreciation of life, a sense of meaning or purpose, confidence and flexibility in your coping skills, and a belief in postmortem survival. And along with these, we see decreases in fear of death, a decreased interest in material possessions, decreased interest in status, power, prestige, and fame, and decreased interest in competition. A second reason that NDEs are important to us is for what they suggest about survival of bodily death. As Dr. Tucker mentioned, our division was founded to explore the possibility that something may survive after death, and the NDEs do provide some evidence on that question. For example, we have enhanced cognition when the brain is impaired, such as by anesthesia or cardiac arrest, which suggests that the mind is not just what the brain does. Second, we have accurate perceptions from an out-of-body perspective. A recent review of over 100 published cases of people who had left their bodies during an NDE and reported seeing things showed that greater than 90% were 100% accurate. Further evidence of the potential independence of mind and brain. Third, we have accurate information that's imparted by deceased visitors in the NDE, such as the location of an important document or hidden treasure, which is evidence that these are encounters with interactive beings, not just mental images of the deceased. A striking example of this are NDEs in which the person meets, in the experience, someone who was not known at the time to be dead. An example was the experiencer I mentioned before, who saw her cousin Alvin, who she had not known had died. Of course, she did know that he was a soldier, so it's conceivable she could have imagined that he had died, but that's not always the case. We also have the NDE from a young girl, an only child, who almost died during heart surgery, and said that in her near-death experience during surgery, she met someone who identified himself as her brother. When she told her father about this, he was so moved that he confessed to her that he had had a son she didn't know about who had died before she was born. We have identified dozens of cases of this type, some going back to ancient Greece. The bottom line is that our culture tends to talk about death as if it's the end of all existence. But NDE suggests that it may be more like a change of state. I'm going to turn things over now to Dr. Kim Penberthy.
All right. Hope you guys were able to hear that as good as possible, because I'm improvising things here. You can give me grief about the struggling, but this is part of it. This is just me trying to get this message across. The thing is that what I just played, that was like the more interesting part of the whole video, because it was a longer lecture. There was an introduction, and then the person that I just the person that I just played, the part that I just played, he was talking about kind of like the more interesting part, because there are a couple of other people that come after that, and they talk about more technical things that are a little more in their field. Now, understand, as the researcher mentioned, this is a group of scientists that have been doing research on this for decades. And from what they were describing, there seems to be a credible body of evidence that suggests that there may be something after the physical body expires after all. On that, I'm sure that you can find many other programs, many other documentaries that elaborate more on this, more recent programs that talk about this. But it's not only that, but things that I have heard from people that are close to me. One example will be of a friend of mine in the Dominican Republic. She was telling me that her grandmother, when she passed, she was already like 97, 98 years old. And about a month or so after her passing, her daughter had a dream about the grandma, and sent her a message through her daughter to her little girl, and telling her that she was okay, that she was in a good place, and they're looking over her, and they love them, and they are watching over them. And it was a very moving thing, the tale that this little girl told her mom. And we all have heard of situations like that, where something like that happened. And so there is a way sometimes this person that have already passed, maybe to communicate through a dream, or there is a way that they let themselves heard, or people know that they are maybe in a better place after all. Now, uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's basically what he was saying. I mean, he was elaborating on that, and you can you can check out the full lecture. Now, I'm gonna be letting my guest come up, and we're gonna be talking a little bit more about it before I wrap up. Anybody else who is listening, you can come up too. Just the hit is in the chat. Don't be afraid. Let's talk. Let's talk about this. Let's see. Don José, ¿cómo está?
Muy bien. ¿Cómo tú sientes?
Estoy un poco mejor. I'm doing a little bit better considering the situation, but uh, it, doing this is actually it helps. It helps. I will admit that I haven't gone out of my way to seek like professional help. um Part of that is kind of like that manly pride. I think that I can tough it out because I have dealt with serious loss before, and I see myself as somebody who can basically handle it. And dealing with it alone right now, it can be a little difficult, but I think I'll be okay. I'll be okay. It's making it difficult for me to sleep, but that's about it. It's nothing that I can handle it.
Well, the fact of the matter is everybody deals with grief differently. Now, in
Yes.
my case, I had to attend within a 30-year period, as far as close members of my family, 7 funerals.
Yes.
Yeah.
I heard you say something about
So you
that.
can just imagine the
Yeah,
fact
it's
that
rough.
I've gone through grief process several times.
Yes. Yes. I mean yeah. The thing is that a person doesn't necessarily have to pass away physically for one not to feel grief over a loss, because sometimes people change, and people that one was cool with at one time, they change and they distance themselves, and you miss them, but they have changed. They're not the person that they used to be. So it's kind of like the same thing, even though they physically may still be with us, but they're a whole different person. And one can go through that grief. I have felt it. I have been through it with somebody who changed. She changed on me, and that was kind of like the person that I used to know, that I was cool with. It was like she had passed away. It was like she had died, and I went through the whole grieving process because she's not the person that I used to know, and I didn't care. I didn't care who she was. She changed into something else, and that I didn't like. I found her kind of repulsive. So the person that she used to be, that used to be cool, that I used to be cool with, it was like she had passed away. So maybe not physically, but I had to deal with loss a few times, because there are people that will disappoint you. So you have to treat them like as if they have passed, and and move on from that. But when it comes to like real passing away, I haven't been to that many funerals. I have been to like four of them in my life. Uh, but the ones that I do remember were the ones uh with my grandma, and yes, with now recently with my mom, well, because there was a service done for her remains. And yeah, this is something that this is what I'm dealing with, and I try to sound cool about it, like it's not really breaking me down, but it takes a tremendous amount of effort to keep my mind as stable as possible, so that I don't sink into the depression. I had a little Freudian slip because I said drink. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying not to. Well, I have never been an alcoholic. I mean, if I didn't become an alcoholic when I was younger, it's not gonna happen now. I think I'm gonna be all right. I'll have a little bit of some a little bit of whiskey here and there to try to ease my mind. But aside from that, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not falling into any vices or anything.
Well, one thing that we have to understand, and that's part of the reason for the stream, is that everybody deals with grief differently. And
Yeah.
grief comes in many forms. Um, there's the grief that one's experienced when a loved one passes away. There's also the grief that occurs when a romantic relationship ends or when a friendship ends. That's a different type of grief.
Hmm.
Now, as far as the timing, of course, I didn't know about your situation,
Nope.
but I decided to link the two things together, being the stream regarding grief and the shout out to the mothers, because the fact of the matter is, on Mother's Day, for quite a few people,
Yeah.
it's a very bittersweet time because their mothers are not in the picture because they've gone to their final reward.
Yeah.
So the whole point of the stream is to know how to deal with grief, and then when it comes to the stream regarding the shout out to the mothers, is to
Yeah.
is a just remember and to give recognition to all the people that provided a positive motherly image, and of which I ended it with giving a shout out to the members of my family who are mothers, and a special shout out to my oldest sister and my mom, who both passed away two
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, the thing is that you were talking about Mother's Day. I mean, it wasn't just that it was Mother's Day coming up, and I'm dealing with this grief. But the day before Mother's Day, it was actually my mom's birthday. So all of those things, one after the other, it just beat me up. It beat me up mentally. Like uh, on Saturday was her birthday. On Sunday was Mother's Day, and I had just lost my mom. And it just mentally is quite a big down because it's like, ah, damn, all of these things, one after the other, and it was hard. It was hard. It was hard to take it. This last Mother's Day, it was hard. It was hard. It's gonna be hard again for the foreseeable future. Gonna be difficult. So I guess I'm gonna have to get ready for that and try to work through it. Try to work through it so it doesn't beat me up emotionally for the next time around.
Well, last year on Mother's Day, Denise did a special on the mothers, which I participated in. And in
Yes.
all fairness, I have never watched it since that day because I'm not at the mental state that I can watch it. But the fact of the matter is, many of us are very close to our mothers because, first of all, they're among the first people that we see when we come out of the womb.
Yeah.
We have that close, nurturing environment and things of that nature. So when our mother passes away, it's a difficult loss. And out of all the people that passed away in my family, dealing with my mom's passing was the most difficult.
Of course. Of course, I understand it now. I get to say that I understand it now because I could only imagine, but imagining and actually understanding it are two different things. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm dealing with that right now. That is a thing for me right now. And all I can say, anybody hearing this, if you have your mom around and she might be a little older, or both of your parents, either one of your parents, if you are close to them and you have them in your life, and like enjoy them, cherish them, and spoil them as much as you can. Do it what you can. Do it what you can. And it's gonna be a difficult one for me, but I know that life has to go on. But this is what we're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
What's going on, Rakim?
Hey, Rakim.
Hey, shout out to my boy. Shout out to my boy, the introvert Boricua. Shout out to my YouTube dad, Jose. How you guys doing today?
Oh, fine. Of course, I missed the cold. So,
It's cold up there.
no, I said
Still?
I missed the cold. I mean, look,
No, no, no,
Saturday.
no, no. But it's May. It's May. It's not supposed to be cold. Hell, don't start with that. Don't start with me on that.
I mean, come on. Saturday's going to go up to 90 in New York. That's disgusting.
No, it's normal. It's normal. It's cold approaching summer. It's cold. It's May. It's May. It's actually, and May is actually ending. We're on the latter part of May. So almost July. You still expect New York to be cold? Come on, Don Jose. What the hell?
New York hasn't been cold for years.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. You told us that the temperatures went all the way down to what, like the 20s and the 10s. So
That's not cold. That's like,
yes, it is.
okay.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's freezing.
Technically 20s, it's either autumn-like or spring-like.
No, 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 no. That's freezing. That's freezing. That's already water on a river freezing up, and nah, nah, nah. Don't give me that.
I mean, look, I mean, this week they put on the AC in the office, and everyone's complaining. It's too cold. It's too cold. It's too cold. It's like,
Yeah.
who was ever cold in the office?
Ugh, come on now. Nah, nah, nah. So
But back to the but back to the topic of regarding grief.
Yeah.
Like I said before, everyone deals with it differently. But one thing we need to understand is that we need to allow people to grieve in their own way as long as they're not hurting each other. Now, I actually posted something on my Instagram, 7 things that you should never say to a person when they lost somebody.
Oh, I see. I see.
Because, and I think what happened is people mean well, but sometimes they
Yeah.
say things that are kind of stupid, like
I don't want to even imagine what kind of like tasteless things people can do, even if they mean well. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's
like-
better.
like-
Sometimes
like-
it's better to just keep quiet. That's all I'm saying.
he's in a better place. Okay, thank you for letting me know that. I mean, that does not take away.
Well, that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
No, that's not too bad. But
I don't want to imagine
or like
what.
I know what you're going through.
No, they don't know. They don't know. If they have their parents, they can't say that they know. They don't know. They can only imagine, which is what I could do until recently about that when you talked about it, about the passing of your mom, and I could imagine. That's how I will state it. But I couldn't say I know what you're feeling through because okay, I may have lost my grandma and my other grandma and my grandfathers and all, but it's not the same as a direct parent losing a direct parent. No, it's not the same.
Well, also bear in mind our friend Rakim.
Yeah.
He lost some very close people in his family as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, man. We feel for you. We feel for you. If that's something that you wanted to elaborate on, or you want to add to the subject.
Yeah, yeah, guys. I've lost. Even prior to like, I was pretty much raised by my
Yeah,
grandmothers growing up. My
yeah,
great grandmother and my grandmother, my father's mother.
yeah,
Unfortunately, around me, like a lot of the people that were adults. Not to go into much detail, but in my family, a lot of adults got caught up in the crack epidemic of the '80s and the
oh,
'90s.
oh, man.
So it was a lot of selfishness, and I understand when you fight an addiction,
Yeah,
it's a different ball game. So not just not just with my parent or whatever, but my like my uncles, aunts, people in my family where my cousins dealt with similar circumstances.
yeah,
Unfortunately, I've lost friends to gun violence. I've lost cousins to gun violence and different things like that. And when you like growing up, as far as everything I learned, mostly about saving money, educating yourself, um, building up my self esteem as a child.
uh-huh.
Because even it's a lot of circumstances where young kids, you can grow up having low self esteem because your self esteem was torn down as a child, and everything that just like everything as far as self esteem, as far as taking time to educate your child to learn, different things. I learned it through my grandmothers, both of
Mm,
my great grandmother and my grandmother, and so I lost my great grandmother as a child in 2002. She passed away
mm,
from Alzheimer's, unfortunately. At
yeah,
I was 14 at the time, and I just recently lost my grandmother who raised me. Both of them raised me actually, but I lost her in 2020 to cancer, and it was one of the most devastating things because if you're there at their side, you go through all so many types of emotions,
yeah,
and from the doctor's appointments to the visits to trying to learn what's the correct diet to help fight, the
yeah,
illness, different
yeah,
things like that. You see the range of emotion that that person is going to getting yourself prepared for that type of situation it's like it's nothing worse than preparing yourself for the inevitable
yeah,
because
yeah,
something that you know that's going to completely damage you is nothing worse. Well, the only thing that's worse is something abruptly happening to
mhm,
somebody that you're close to. But other than that, it's nothing that's worse than that. I went through a lot of range of emotions and like what you were saying to my boy the introvert Boricua, nobody knows that type of pain. Like I have friends that they got both of their parents. I grew up, I had one parent growing up, but she
yeah,
had her circumstances and her problems.
right, right.
But like they don't know what it's like. And unfortunately the environment that I grew up in, it caused me to have to be um privy to a lot of things at a young age. So that type of foundation that my grandmother provided me with, just encouragement, support, resources, different things like that coming up, understanding, you only going to have a few people in this world that love you unconditionally. So when you lose those people,
Yeah,
it messes with you. And not
yeah,
I'm not you know
yeah, yeah, yeah. Right now, when it comes to family, the only elder in my family that has known me since I was a baby, that would be my aunt. That she's the only one who remains. Now, my dad is out there somewhere, but I can't count on him. So all I have remaining is my aunt. His sister, my dad's sister. That's all I got left. So I try to communicate more often because I was kind of disconnected from her for a few years. I will admit, and I told her I saw her at the service for my mom. I hadn't seen her in a few years because I don't live on the island anymore, and it was so good to see her. It was so good to see her. She's elderly herself. She's past the 70-year mark, and she seems to be okay. Her mind seems to be okay. She's having a little trouble with her knees walking, but aside from that, and she seems to be doing okay. I mean, her mind is still, she's aside from that, she seems still strong, and mind still sharp, and I hope it stays like that for a long time to come. I mean, but yeah, she's the only elderly relative that I have remaining because I can't count on my own dad for anything. He didn't show up. He didn't show up at my mom's service, even though she was his very first for on everything. But that's how disconnected he is. He's just living his whole life. I mean, he's not growing out of that. He does selfish shit like that. And all right, he had a chance. He had a chance to be a little bit of support. He had a chance to kind of like mend things more with my sister because I don't count on him anymore. I don't care. I just don't care. But I can only say, man, you losing your grandma. You said that she had cancer. Well, that's what happened with my grandma. But that was back in '91 when she passed. I was a teenager back then, and I remember that very well. What she went through, the illness, the chemotherapy, and the side effects that come with it. So yeah, that part I can say. I saw it myself. I know the feeling. So
Yeah, I just remember this woman fought tooth and nail to take care of me. She fought tooth and nail to take care of me. Um, like incidents where me as a child paying lawyers $5,000 to get full custody of me as a child because I was in a real rough situation.
yeah,
Her coming to areas where I was at after running away from home and different things like that. Her coming to areas where I was at with her gun, looking for me to get me out of those situations that I was in. And like she was the truth, man. She was the truth, and she was one of those people you can sit and you can converse with her all day. We would sit up there and uh, we watched everything together from the History Channel. It's funny because one of her favorite shows was Real Housewives of Atlanta. She would say things like, she'll be like, you know what, I'm not watching those. Those women is nothing but full of drama. Then about an hour go by later, she's like, you know what, turn on Housewives of Atlanta. Let me see what they talking about.
no, she had sense. She had sense, but she still saw the entertainment value in it because those shows are like mad entertaining. But that's not something that like little girls should be looking up to because it's gonna make they're gonna end up being no good women when they grow up. I mean, okay, it's entertaining, but look at it as entertaining. Not the parents should be in the picture when these girls are watching those shows and they think that that's the way to conduct themselves as women when they grow up, and they're so wrong. They don't realize that they're so wrong. So that's why it's important to have good parenting in the picture that will tell them that, look, okay, this shit is entertaining, but that's not what you want to be when you grow up. I mean, somebody to tell them that it will make a real difference.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just like so dealing with loss, man, it's devastating. And you keep a lot of things bottled up inside because, like what you were saying earlier, Ramon, with your father, when you recognize people are selfish, I have a issue like with myself personally, one of my flaws is that I do hold grudges, and
Yeah.
just hold grudges to, like, in the sense that when a person show me who they are, I leave them alone. Or if a person does something to me, to the like, or they like, oh, they try to, how a person does something and then they try to, no, I'm different. No, we can just leave it where it's at.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm that type of person. Maybe that's not good, but I don't know how to be any other way. And
Mhm.
so, like, when you're dealing with loss, and if you're dealing with a situation where you're losing somebody close, I think a lot of us, due to the fact that we don't have people to really communicate with, we deal with our feelings, by ourselves.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
that's kind of what I'm dealing with. Part of me is pride, and part of me is just not wanting to reach out and wanting to
yeah,
tough it
I'm the
out.
same way.
But but I have to kind of like a part of my mind, part of my brain, that is a kind of like a little something where I have to keep in mind that, hey, if I actually need help, I'm gonna have to seek it out. I actually have to talk to somebody. I just feel like right now I can handle it. Like it's under control, because I'm not talking crazy. There was one instance in which I was talking to my friend, and I was telling her like, look, I can't go on. I can't do this anymore. I don't see the point. I don't see the point in being here. I was actually talking like that momentarily, but then she kind of got me back into my senses. They were like, no, don't talk like that. You still had a life to live, and uh, what you can do, call me, or I'm gonna call you every day if necessary. And I was like, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'll be all right. I'll be all right. It's just that sometimes one needs a little bit of a talk like that, and we can one kind of gets back on track. So I
Absolutely,
think I'll be okay. I'll be
absolutely,
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. And I've had, family that's been like, that reached out to me during the situation that I was while I was going through and everything. Also, just not just, with my, because that was my parent. I know it's not the same as having a direct parent, but that was one of the only parents that I knew growing up. And just losing friends. I lost close friends to gun violence, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I've lost close friends. One close friend to a car accident. That was, me and him was suit like brothers. Um, Cousins to gun violence and different things like that. And when you take like losses like that and something like that abruptly happens, it changes you. It does something to you as a person, especially, people that you are close with, that you get a phone call in the middle of the night saying that they're no longer here, or
Yeah.
this has happened on this street, and I think this is one of your peoples, or something like
Yeah.
that. And I don't really know how to describe it or define it, because like it's something that,
Hard. It's
yeah,
hard to describe.
it can definitely take a toll. It can definitely take a toll on you. So yeah, it's really just, even now, I've never really been at a loss for words on these panels a lot of the times, but I don't know what to really say as far as dealing with it, because it almost feels like it's not a lot of people you can really trust to express your feelings
Yeah.
or tell people your feelings, or you just
Yeah.
walk around and you just try to get through the next day, and you try to, it's a lot of people that walk around, especially if you grow up in certain areas with post traumatic stress disorder,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no therapy. It's none of that. You just try to go through it, and sometimes those people can end up exploding on each other, or turning it on each other, or you can walk down and somebody bump you, and then that turns into a whole conflict amongst itself, because you never know, those two people may be dealing with similar situations, but they don't know each other.
Right.
And you just try to find your best therapeutic ways that you can deal with it. If you can afford therapy, you go to therapy and you speak with a therapist. If you can't, one of my best um, solutions that I can say for any person is going to the gym, trying to read, listening to soothing music, different things like that, whether it be smooth jazz or, various music like that. And just try to, do what you can. But it's very important to speak with people, especially people that can understand and people that can relate. Because on top of dealing with her death, I dealt with a lot of her selfish relatives who was trying to, just trying to see if it was anything that they can take in the midst of her passing away.
Really, really.
Yes,
Oh my.
yes. Even
Um,
even
Yeah,
her brother,
yeah,
I
that
had
has
to
to
Joaquin,
watch him. So
I can, you see, I can relate to all that because there was a will, and basically, my mother left everything to me,
be. Hmm.
everything, and I mean everything. So it was up to me to deal with my mother's final effects. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna do the honorable thing, and I'm going to share it with my siblings. I'm going to share it with my nephews and nieces. Unfortunately, you had certain people that wanted, they wanted to get this, they wanted to get that, they wanted to get this, and for a whole week, I had to like shut down with one of my siblings because it's all of a sudden he's asking for this and asking for that. It's like, I'm dealing with my our mother's passing. You know that, and that I'm dealing with all this and trying to be fair. And it's like that's the last thing I needed. So for a whole week, I just could not talk with my sibling.
I can imagine. I can imagine, and I'm trying. I'm trying really hard to. Well, my sister and I are cool. We haven't always seen eye to eye because my sister is a very headstrong person. She got that from mom, but
Yeah.
exponentially. So I have been able to stay in good speaking terms with my sister, and hoping that it stays that way because she has a very short fuse. I love her; she's my blood, but that's the truth. What's going on, truth teacher?
Hey, true teacher, long time no here.
shout out to
Hey,
Truth.
I'm
What's
still
going on,
alive.
Truth? Haven't seen you around,
Yeah,
brother.
yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised, and
Oh man, this,
appreciate you coming up.
I'm kind of like winding down for the day, so I figure let me just jump in
Hmm.
really quick. I've been like off the radar. I know I've been off the radar for a minute, man. I've been busy,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there have been several streams that I have been to, even with acquaintances, close acquaintances of ours, and I have been wondering, what is teacher at? I mean, we haven't seen you, so it's good to see you, man. Good to see you that you're alive, man.
I'm alive. I'm alive.
Yeah,
But yeah, I saw the topic and oh man, it listen. When it comes to dealing with grief, nobody can tell you how to grieve, you know?
no,
And it's that thing where you know what I've come to the conclusion. Um, when they leave, it leaves a vacuum in your life, you know?
yeah,
It leaves a vacuum in you emotionally. And even though I'm a spiritual person and I know that they're still around, the thing about it is that while we're here in this world, we're in this physical vehicle, and this physical body relates to the physical environment. So, our loved ones, it's like our physical body misses the ability to interact with them on a physical plane, you know?
yeah.
And there's just nothing that you can do or say that can fill that void, You just
Um,
you just I guess the pain isn't as acute
like this year is going to be the third year since my mom passed, and
Yeah.
I still look at her picture with a sense of disbelief that she's not here, and it's still perplexing to me that somebody that was just so full of life and everything is
Yeah.
gone. And with the recent events, so many people around me have passed away. um but on the other hand, it's something that we're all going to experience. Like it's a part of the experience of living. And then one day, we're going to be the ones that are gone, and people are going to be mourning our departure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah,
Well,
yeah,
you
go
know,
ahead.
I
Mhm.
yeah, I had a talk with with the three remaining siblings I have, and I made it perfectly clear to them that when it comes to my time to depart to that journey where there's no return, that there's certain things that I expect. First of all, that I want, if they're married or into a serious relationship, I want their partners to ride in the limo with them. I also want my funeral to be a celebration of my life and the fact that, for the length of time that God has seen fit to allow me to live, hopefully I've been able to be a positive influence with other people. So that's how I look at it. Because we all gotta die eventually. I mean, because typically the average human being lives to be 70 or 80 years old. My
Yeah.
mother was 86 when she passed away. So she lived 6 years past what's considered normal. My
Yeah.
father was 83 when he passed away. So they both had four lives.
Yes.
Now with my mother, unfortunately, she suffered so much because she had to bury four of her children.
Wow.
That must have been so rough. Must have been so rough for her because, as the saying goes, no parent should have to bury their child. That's how the saying goes, and I can only imagine. I can only imagine how difficult it must have been for her.
Yeah.
Hey guys, just wanted to let you guys know I got to get ready to check out.
Right.
Got to get ready to go to work, and just wanted to
Mhm.
come in and check in with you guys and shout out to Truth, shout out to you, Introvert Boricua, shout out to Jose, and shout out to the chat. One thing I just wanted to say before I go, when you definitely deal with losses, a lot of the times I find myself, I don't know if anybody else does that, I find myself like if I'm in the old area that I grew up in or something like that, I just find myself driving by my old house or driving uh over to where I used to like live. Like I found myself doing that a lot. Like I would drive past me and my grandmother's house that I was growing up in as a kid and different things like that. It's like those memories are still fresh in your mind, even though it may have been 20 years ago or 25 years ago. You're in a completely different era these days, and you'll be thinking back to the 90s and you'll just drive, and it's almost like you can see things exactly what they were back then when you
Yeah.
Mhm.
go to
Yeah.
those areas. So, but you know, you guys have a good one. I wish I can sit and interact a little bit more, but I got to get ready to go. So you guys take it easy.
All right, be
Okay.
safe, Kim.
All right.
Appreciate it, Hakeem. Appreciate you coming up.
Yeah, be cool, man. Nice
Yeah,
seeing you.
take it easy out there on that road.
Thanks, fellas. Thanks, fellas. I appreciate it, and I'll be speaking
Mhm.
to you guys later.
All right, take care.
Sure thing. Sure thing. Take care, man.
Ramon, you might want to check out Denise's stream that she did last year on regarding mothers. Something to
I
look
mean, I
into.
think I will. I think I'm gonna do that eventually, but not right now. I mean, it
Okay,
might.
that's believe me, I understand. I have not watched it myself, and I
Yeah,
actually participate, so I understand.
yeah,
But
yeah. I think eventually I will. It's just that it might be a little difficult for me to do that right now. But no, no. But I'll take the suggestion. I'll take the suggestion. It's just that not at this time.
it's
But
under,
Did you lose your mom?
yeah, yeah. Today is 1 month
Oh,
uh, from
wow.
the from her passing. Yes, yes. I mean, Jose, I don't know if you remember. You remember the day before, the night before the 17th, in which I was talking to you and Denise about the condition of my mom when she was at the I had just got back to Texas from Puerto Rico, and I was talking to you guys
oh yeah.
on backstage about her condition and how I wasn't feeling so well already. The very next morning, I got the call on the 18th. The very next morning,
Oh,
I got the call from the hospital, and they were telling me, "Look, you need to talk to your sister." And that's when I got the news. Yeah, yeah. It's
Wow.
been that was one
yeah.
month ago exactly. Hmm.
You're still raw.
It's still painful. This is still difficult. This is still something that I'm dealing with. But I wanted to do this stream, kind of touching on it on the one video that I had come across back in January when I came back to Texas after having the first health scare with mom, and it was a video that actually gave me some kind of solace because it's about research that is being done on near death experiences. The link is in the description. You can check it out so you can see what I mean. In which there is a credible body of evidence that strongly suggests that there is, in fact, the impossible in damn near fact that after all there may be a different plane of existence, a change of state. And it's not like one passes away. It's not like you are going to sleep and you just don't wake up. To some people that doesn't sound too bad, but at the same time it's like, isn't there, we have kind of like an essence, a soul. Does it go somewhere? And there is suggestion that it may go somewhere after all, and it may be an actual pleasant place. And that's what I like to think about when it comes to mom, that she may be on this other plane of existence in which she's at peace and she's happy and nothing can hurt her. If that's how it is, then I guess I can be more at peace with myself. That's how I would like to look at it, because that video gave me some solace as to mom not being here anymore.
Yeah.
Well, for some people it's called heaven. Other people it's called paradise. For other
Yeah.
people, like called nirvana. I mean, it all depends what is your faith system, because everyone has a different faith system.
Yeah.
But in general, they talk about a place where there's no crying, there's no weeping, there's peace, and it's eternal joy. And
Yeah.
I'm sure in truth, in your belief system, there is. I don't know. If there's such a place as far as eternal peace in your faith, in your belief system.
Well, we don't really believe that because we believe in the principle of reincarnation.
Okay.
So it's for us, it's a matter of, just a continual stream of life. It's like there's a period where you're in a body, and then there's a period where you're not in a body. And so you're in like another dimension when you're not in the physical body. But eventually, like the need to keep reincarnating, you evolve to a point where you don't have to come back anymore, and then I guess you're, in that spiritual realm, but you're on a higher frequency. You're on a high frequency, so you don't need to be perfected anymore. Like
Okay.
It's very similar to like the Hindu idea that, we merge with the creator again, because right now the creator is on a much higher frequency than we are,
Mm-hmm.
So we can't, you know, be one with it yet. We still have to work out our imperfections.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then once we do that, then yeah, we're in a place. Now what happens after that, I don't know. Um, I don't get bent out of shape trying to figure it out. I'm like, okay, let's just take things one step at a time. you know, let's get through this part first, and then we'll worry about everything else.
Well, it is quite different from the belief system which I have, which is of course Christianity, because
Yeah, you guys got a
basically,
one-shot deal. It's like you got one chance to get it right.
okay, I got one chance, but I don't claim to be perfect. I'm far from perfect, but I try to follow the example of the founder of my faith.
Yeah. Well, listen. Here's one thing that I know for certain. We're here now, and whether you believe that there's something that comes next or not, the fact of the matter is that this is a wonderful opportunity to be here and we have to make the most of it. Whether you believe that what you do affects, your state when you get to the other side, or that this is just all there is. Either way you look at it, man, it's like, look, you have to make the most of the time that you have here.
Mhm.
Either way,
Definitely, definitely. Yeah.
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 Try to live as full a life as possible and not throw it away, because I mean later on in life, if you don't do anything with it and you just waste it, then you're
Mhm.
gonna end up regretting it later on in life. So you don't want to do that.
Well,
Exactly. But I don't know. It To me, it seems highly unlikely that you just get snuffed out
Hmm.
like an old light bulb, because I mean, what are we without the body? We're energy.
Yeah, yeah, and energy is not turned off; it just changes.
Yeah. So I
Energy just changes. Yeah.
basically that most of what we call supernatural is just natural phenomenon that our technology hasn't caught up with yet.
Hmm.
mhm.
And so, I mean, like think about it, right? Right now, we're communicating on a certain frequency, right? There's a certain frequency that's allowing us to do what we're doing right now.
Mhm.
At the same time, there are all other kind of frequencies around us. There's all of these radio frequencies, radio stations, TV stations, we can't perceive that with our five senses, right? We
Mhm.
need to have some kind of a tool to be able to tap into those frequencies, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So when it comes to what happens with us afterwards, I think that energy is still around, but it's on a different frequency. And right now, we just don't have the technology to be able to interact with those frequencies.
Mhm.
So that's what I think happens. We're unlimited. Without a physical body, we're unlimited with time and space,
Hmm.
and we're still here. We still exist, but it's in a different form. We come into these bodies so that we can experience a tangible world.
Mhm.
And
Right.
by so doing, have, experiences and circumstances that allow us to um to learn things, you know, to
Yes.
be able to create and things like that. Because I mean, when you're in the unphysical, it's like you don't need to eat, you don't need to drink, you don't need clothes or housing and or any of that,
Mhm.
but also, like the ability to create things, you don't have that ability. So coming into a physical body allows us to have those experiences,
Yeah.
and by having those experiences, we learn and we elevate ourselves.
But something, to teacher, you mentioned something that was very important. The proper use of our time while we're here,
Yeah.
because we're only here for a certain number of years before we will go to our final destiny.
Hmm.
And it's a shame when you see people who waste their time pursuing certain beliefs or certain objectives, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, and we see it right here in these YouTube streets when you have certain individuals that waste hours and hours talking about the same thing without changing up, and it's the same talking point.
Yep.
Well, you can be using your time to do something constructive, maybe improving your lot on life, maybe trying to be a better person. You're talking about making the DR white again, or you're talking about bringing about the resurrection of the Spanish Empire, or you're talking about Mr. BBC and and all that kind of crap.
That's all they know. That's all they know. They don't know better.
Yeah,
That
that
is
is
a.
that is so,
Uh-huh.
that is so sad and true. Believe it or not, on one day I was on my way to work and I got on the express bus and it was about 7:30. Guess who was doing a live stream?
Oh boy.
In the morning, you mentioned something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you mentioned something about that in the middle of the week too, right?
Yes.
On a week, on a weekday, 7 in the morning doing a live stream. Wow, they
Is
really
this
don't have
our,
anything
is this
better.
our favorite organic chicken farmer in the DR?
No, I'm talking
No, no,
about.
no.
No, we're talking about the person that has an issue with biracial people and certain members of the African American community going to Latin America to be with Latinas.
Wow. 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Uh,
How
well,
many
well.
people are listening?
So I have no idea. But you know something? He inspired me to do a stream. Obsession of concepts.
Yeah, yeah. Certain concepts. Yeah, but you know what happened? There are people. There are people that are, as you said, on the YouTube streets that that's their way to getting attention. They get on a platform and they just keep talking about the same thing over and over. They make these circular arguments that never go anywhere. They're not solving anything. They're not working. They're not contributing to anything useful. They're just sitting on the platform complaining, not doing anything. Complainers don't get anything done. I mean, that's not they're not taking any action to change anything or to make something better of themselves. They just want to sit on YouTube, sit on a platform, and just complain. They sound like a broken record. And I'm not talking about who you are talking about. I have seen in other content creators, some people, so some of them are successful at it. They can actually make a living off of it by doing all this pandering and complaining and not doing anything. Or there are others that are just wasting their time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Hey,
Well, and see the whole thing is not to attack anybody, but to have the discussion. Why do these obsessions exist?
they don't know any better. They don't have anything better to do. They should be thinking about, as you said, about doing something more productive and just like get off their ass. And they need to get off their ass and actually do something
I
in the
think
schools. But I don't get it. That's just not how I was raised. I wouldn't know anything about just being able to sit on my ass and complain about other people. That's just not how I was raised. I don't know the first thing about doing something like that. Like I mentioned.
I think people like that, look,
Yeah.
they just don't know. They don't know how to be effective in their lives. You know, they're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you know, God damn, man, 7 o'clock in the freaking morning, and this is what you're doing. Like, what's going on with the rest of your life? I mean, well, obviously you have no life, and
Well, I mean, talking about Mr. BBC and how there's no such thing as biracial, what have you. Okay, now I don't know what PJ Masks is talking about, but he's entitled to his views.
Well, I don't know if he's trying to say something about religion, which is fine. I mean, people have a right to believe in what they want to believe.
Yeah,
But you wanna talk to us about the Holy Spirit? Well, that's not in in the Bible. Actually, that's more of a Catholic thing. But I'm not gonna get into religion. I don't do it. So
okay.
no, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. I mean, uh, PJ Masks. Well, you can believe in whatever you want to
Well,
believe. Nobody can tell you different.
well, I think was it yesterday on Radical's call-in show. He talked about how weak people ask and strong people demand. And then part of it, what he talked about, because he shared the experience of going to a Pentecostal church.
Mhm.
And then he asked some people what they got out of it,
Yeah.
other than being more and what have you. And then he spoke with them regarding what happened with, I think it was in Buffalo. So
Yeah.
so what their responses were, they were putting in prayer. Okay,
Mhm.
so when I said to Radical, he was partially correct. And I'm going to explain to you why. I mean, because you can pray about something, but yet you have to follow it with an act, some sort of an action.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Like, for example, I can pray to get groceries. Okay. But if I don't actually go to the supermarket or order groceries online, I'm not going to get groceries. When my mother was sick and had to be sent to the ER,
Mhm.
I did not lay hands on my mother or anoint my mother with holy oil. I took my mother to the ER. And
Yeah.
then during the time, I did pray for my mother's recovery, but I also spoke with the doctor and see to get an update and see what I can do to try to improve my mother's medical condition.
Mhm.
Because the Bible talks about faith without works is dead.
yeah.
It's like,
Right.
I mean,
Right. Right. There are people that haven't read the whole thing, and apparently because they go to church and maybe the religious leader, their pastor, preacher, whatever, they tell them to pray a lot, pray hard, pray a lot, pray hard, pray a lot, and pay your tithes. Ah, there. I went there. I went there.
okay, but okay, there's a story. It's a little humorous, but it's also sad at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a flood, and the person was standing on the roof of his house, and
Hmm.
he prayed to God to save him. So a man came with a boat and invited the man to get into the boat.
Hmm.
And then the guy say he wouldn't because he's praying to God that God would save him. So then
Okay.
a helicopter came with a ladder and invited the person to climb the ladder and get to the helicopter. He said, no, because I'm praying to God that God will save me. The guy drowned. So he
Yeah.
goes to heaven and he asks God, well, what happened? I prayed for you to save me. I said, well, what do you expect? I sent a guy with a boat. I sent a guy with a helicopter. Why didn't you do either one of those two things?
Yeah. 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 It's like, come on, help. The way that one can be helped, it can come in different ways. I mean, it's just sometimes the timing alone should be telling you as to it could have been as to whether it could have been from a higher power or not. But I mean, come on, let be practical. Be practical. People that understand that they live in the real world and they may be able. They may be people of faith. They believe in what they want to believe, and they do prayers, but they also take actions, and I can totally respect that.
There's
Okay.
too many people that are waiting for magic.
Yeah. That is.
They want a magical solution.
They're expecting the kind of like what they see in the movies or somebody who, no, that's not real life.
They want the
the-
clouds to part and the rays of sunshine to come down and it'll just magically appear. Like
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
how life works, man.
No,
Okay.
No.
I'm assuming to teach you, you don't hold me in that light.
No. But listen, I mean, in every tradition, you have delusional people like that. In every tradition, it doesn't matter. So, it's not something you can pin on any one religious group. Like you find people like that everywhere. Whatever tradition, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist,
also,
whatever.
around the world, in cultures around the world, there is research that shows that there are different stories that have to do with kind of like what we were talking about, and when it comes to the near death experiences, is the experiences themselves are highly influenced by people's cultures, by what they know. They have kind of like a frame of reference from that, and people see things differently as to when they are supposed to go into this other plane of existence. The way they get there is different from different people around the world. So they seem to be going somewhere, but I mean, it's just different. And some people see figures that are kind of like more related to religion. Some people just see their ancestors, their relatives that they haven't seen. So that to somebody like me, those bring me a little bit of comfort. I mean, hopefully it's like that for me eventually when I get there and I see relatives that I haven't seen in years, and that would be nice. That actually would be nice to see.
I think my mom saw like ancestors, and this was like, before she died, when she was still, she still had her eyesight and everything.
Yeah.
After the third stroke, I was with her in the hospital and she kept asking me, who are those people?
Yeah.
And it scared the shit out of me. I was like, oh my God.
Okay.
I didn't want to accept the fact that this was the end, but looking back, like, yeah, she was nearing the end, so she started seeing, they say, I've heard a lot of people say this too, that, they see relatives when
Mhm.
they get close,
Yeah.
And so she was seeing people and she was like, who are those people?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. My mom was telling me something like that. She was telling me that she was seeing things in the last days. I mean, when I was with her in the hospital, and she was also telling me that she was kind of like seeing things, and she told me one time that she was seeing children around her, and I was asking her, okay, well, what do they look like? Are these kids? Are they playing? Are they happy? And she said, yeah, they're playing. Okay, no, that's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah, so
Well,
Monet,
she was seeing things. Mhm.
a predominantly Spaniard ancestry with only 16% African.
Ah! well, that wasn't a question. No, I didn't ask anything like that. But yeah,
Well,
what
but
would
we
matter?
well remember, according to one individual that's currently residing in the DR, he's pure white and he's a Spaniard, even though he looks he looks more whatever.
Well,
Wait a minute.
should have,
So wait a minute.
he was such a Spanish. Should have moved to Spain. There, I would have respected that. I mean, or like a couple of people that come at me talking down to me because we're Puerto Rican, and apparently in the Northeast, or at least in New York City, like um, New Yorkers go around calling themselves black. I don't know anything about that because I'm an islander, but
Um,
that's what I keep hearing. I mean, I don't know. I don't know because I've had conversations with my brother-in-law who is from the Bronx, and has never said anything like that. He's actually has have had his differences with people of other groups. So I really don't know what they're trying to tell me. And there was one of them that kind of led up with insisting on me that we or I don't have an identity when I made it clear that I'm an islander. So that's when they kind of let up on insisting on trying to lecture me about myself, which is something that I find so annoying. I mean, they don't know what they're talking about, but they think that they can lecture me about me. Like, get out of here with that.
well, let's keep it clear. We have certain people that are extremely delusional, and and we have people that are very thin skinned. Remember, there was one female creator that tried to stop me from getting on a platform.
Yeah.
And why? Because I actually say something that was polite, but it was an honest truth. It was an honest assessment, but this person couldn't deal with it.
Yeah, there are people that they may be able to. They can dish it out, but they can't take it. I mean, there is nothing you can do. You can't reason with somebody like that. So you just let
Yeah,
them be. Leave them alone.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Don Jose, teacher. I'm about to wrap up because there are some things that I have to take care of. But if there is anything that any final sayings, any final thoughts that you wanted to add.
Well, first of all, thank you, Intro Boricua, for allowing me to be on your platform,
Mhm.
talking about a topic where I'm sure we would prefer not to talk about,
Yeah.
but it's a reality is that we all have to deal with the fact that unfortunately people are going to die. Okay.
Yeah.
So, the best thing to do is to acknowledge that we are going through a grieving process
Hmm.
and just understand that there's no time limit or a timestamp on grieving. Just make sure that you uh, take care of yourself and you do what you can. And if you feel the need to reach out to somebody like a friend or a relative or a therapist or whatever
Yes.
there is no shame. And of course, I'm gonna be doing a stream on my channel completely in Spanish at 6 o'clock, which is 5 o'clock Central Time.
Yes.
And to teacher, hopefully at some point you will air some material pretty soon, so we could be blessed with your content. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here.
All right. Thank you, Don Jose. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys kind of like joining in since you've had the experience already of what I'm going through right now, then you showing up and showing some support is something that it means a lot to me. So I want to thank you guys.
Sure.
Yeah,
Well,
Yes,
man.
and teacher, was there anything that you wanted to add?
No, just like, my condolences to you. I really didn't know that your mom had passed,
Yeah,
and I know
yeah,
what you're going through, and it's the kind of thing. It's like you really struggle to put words to it, to describe it. There's nothing. There just isn't language to it describe what it feels like.
yeah,
And like Jose told you, man, nobody can. You just got to take it one day at a time. You're gonna go through different stages of grief. Like for me, I went through I was just frozen for a long time. It was like living life in black and white. Like living
yeah,
life without any color.
yeah, yeah.
And it took me quite a while. Like I'm just beginning to come out of it and to like start pulling my life back together.
Yes, yeah,
And yeah, you have to just allow yourself to heal all this shit of trying to put on a brave face for people. Fuck that shit. And
yeah.
if you feel like you just need to take some time to just decompress and just do nothing, absolutely nothing,
Hmm.
allow yourself the right to do that.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna keep it in mind. And it's just that I got back. I got back to Texas, and I've been trying to keep my mind occupied with my work and all. So I don't sink into anything. So there are gonna be instances in which I'm gonna try and kind of like be by myself and not think about anything. But I don't feel like I can do that for too long, because then I'm gonna have to think about the loss for so much that it's gonna affect me in a negative manner. That's what I fear. So
Hmm.
that's why I have to try to keep myself occupied. Uh, but hey, having said that, I'm gonna be on my way out, and guys, appreciate you guys joining the broadcast, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. I know the Jose, he's consistent and supportive, but teacher, don't become a stranger. Don't
I'm
get
going.
lost on
I
us.
am. Listen, I'm trying to be. I'm trying to get my shit together, man. You
Yeah,
know, I am. So I'm not dead. I'm still here.
yeah,
I will pop up again.
yeah. No, but don't disappear on us. Don't become a stranger. And once again, I appreciate you and Don Jose, and of course Rakim, if he's watching the playback, for coming up on the panel and share his view on the subject.
It's my pleasure, man.
All right,
yes, likewise.
all right. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
You
All right,
too. Take care. Good
man.
night.